Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno on Tuesday announced his cash reward of 310 million naira for the leadership of the Akwa Ibom youth across the 31 local government areas of the state for boycotting the recent #NBadGovernance protests. The governor, in a meeting with stakeholders on the eve of the #NBadGovernance protests in Uyo, promised to appreciate the youth of the state if they shunned the nationwide protest. Speaking during a thank you rally at Uyo Township Stadium on Tuesday, the governor said each of the 31 local governments in the state would get 10 million naira each, which he added should be shared across party lines. He said the leadership of the youth in each of the local governments will receive the money and spread it across party lines. He said the gesture was a promise he had to keep in appreciation of the youths in the state. Let's start from the gesture before we move to the sharing amongst local government and along party lines. Well, let's just start from the overall gesture. Alfred, how do you see this story?
You see, the gesture has actually culminated into negative party lines. Because looking at this now, whom are these youths? Where were they come from? And looking at the way the overall scenario is, the Akwa Ibom State is a Niger Delta state, and we know predominantly how these things are affirmationed over time. This is going to bring negative tidings to the youths.
How? How would they do that?
Now, who are these youths? If you look at the end hunger protest, you will see it even on the faces of the youths that they are actually hungry. Now, they say a hungry man is an angry man. Now, whom are these youths that have made up, whom are made up of these local government areas that will culminate into sharing 310 million naira? Looking at it, the average Nigerian youth is hungry, and that was the reason why we came out to demonstrate. To this effect, everyone that is hungry ought not to partake in these government sinuses. But looking at it in retrospect, we should stop politicking.
So you feel the Akwa Ibom youths are probably not hungry, and that's why they didn't join the protest?
That was why I asked earlier on, who are these youths? Because, like here in Port Harcourt, most of the youths that don the streets refuse taking monies from either the NDDC or the government. And at what point, using River State as a case study now, would a youth come to say, we will not partake in the spoils from the government? And now that same government is coming to share monies. We ought to have taken the monies and gone our separate ways.
But we didn't. Maybe we should get you right now. Are you saying the youths shouldn't? Who are the youths that didn't join the protest? Because you've been saying who are the youths. Are you asking of the youths who are receiving the money, or are you asking of the youths who didn't join the protest? What exactly is your point?
To me, I believe it was within the purview of every youth to join in the protest.
So you feel every youth in Nigeria should have joined that
protest?
Should
have joined, and I think government and politics has gone gaga in Nigeria, because it's the same government that will say don't do this, that same government will say do this. Now, periodically, have we gone into the streets to find out the yearnings of these youths? Look at the tag. End hunger. What do you think 310 million naira would do in the lives of all of these youths?
But it was not like he was mandated to give them 310 million naira. It's just a promise he made to them. You know, before the protest, he told them not to join the protest. And he's not the only state government that told the people of the state not to join the protest. Akwa Ibom State did, other state governors did, and then at the end of the day, in some of those other states where the governor told them not to join, they still joined the protest. And he he deemed it fit, because he stated it earlier, oh, I'm going to reward you if you don't join the protest. And now he deemed it fit to reward them for not joining the protest. But should that really be the problem?
Those who make the laws are the same that also break the law. This is very, very cynical, Annie. This is end hunger, or it was a hunger protest, right? Now, for people that are hungry, they can eventually do anything. If you say you want same youth to come out to protest, you will see same number of youth, same faces. There are videos to this effect. Like, I keep using Port Harcourt as a scenario. I have videos I will show you. Those that were in the streets promulgating against the end hunger are the same youths that collected money and started acting against themselves.
In Port Harcourt?
Here in Port Harcourt. I have footage of all of this.
I thought you mentioned earlier that monies were provided for Port Harcourt's protesters and they rejected it.
Yes. But at a time, nationwide, we have youths that are gullible everywhere. They say money talks, bullshit happens.
Language?
Yeah.
Yes, we don't use that language on air. Go on.
Now, you see, when you see youths in retrospect trying to kick against what the federal government is doing, you will see other vices showcasing itself before the youths. That is the singular reason why we are where we are. And that is what has brought us to where we are today.
Why do you think the Akwa Ibom youths did not join the protest?
They were held back. Now, it's not as though Akwa Ibom mites are not vulnerable. An average Akwa Ibom youth condones respect. That is why you see them everywhere nationwide. No? And I think that is where the governor has held sway in holding tight to the youths, not to demonstrate. And I asked from the beginning, what was the process? How were these youths chosen? Because there is a given number of youths per local government. And I think this has gone through party lines.
And that's what he said, that it will go through party lines. You're talking about the distribution, right?
The distribution through party lines. Now the question is, what of those that are not affiliated to either party? Does that mean they will not partake in the spoils? These are questions that need answers.
That's already looking like the money is not for all the youths.
It's not for all the youths. Because it's inherent in us that once you don't partake, you start forming opposition. And this opposition can be either or against the government. And by the time the opposition surpasses that of government, they start a second phase of empowerment. It is predominant here in Niger Delta. Like the people coming from the creek to say, we own this. If you don't partake, this happens. At the end of the day, you start empowering a single man to survey oil in the whole of the Niger Delta. At the end of the day, some youths will say, wow, it means if you don't ferment trouble, you will not be empowered. And that is where we have gotten to today. It is on this premise that I'm saying we should look inherent in the way we include people governmentally, structurally, or otherwise. Because the Nigerian youth has surpassed the stage where for a government to say we are giving you this to stop this. At the end of the day, that system will still pervade. The system will still pervade, because how much or what form will the empowerment take? Are they going to buy them vehicles? Are they going to buy them sewing machines? Or are they going to share the money and say, go and establish yourself? If it's not going, even at that self, look at the rate, the Naira rate. Nigeria have been dollarized. So if you share these monies evenly amongst these youths, you will see that it is tantamount to nothing, almost nothing.
So you think it would have been more effective if it was used in, probably invested in something that would benefit the youths?
The government is supposed to be all-inclusive. And you, as a youth, if the government or governance has not rubbed off on you in one form or the other, you feel aggrieved. And that is where I go wrong with most of these governmental figures, because they don't have a think tank team that will help them brainstorm on how to run their government. Until we have an all-inclusive government, wherefore you bring people that are outside the auspice of governance to brainstorm with you as a government on how to parry individuals politically, religiously, economic, or the other, it means we are still where we are.
That's public opinion.
Yes, you must carry out public opinion, you know, so that you don't shoot yourself on the foot when you are facing the public. But these days, what I feel or what I see is a government that will just say this is what we want, and they don't even go an extra mile to make sure they have the right footing to be able to mitigate what's going to happen in front.
So if public opinion was actually sorted, do you think the youths will reject 310 million naira as cash and would ask for probably it to be invested in infrastructure or something that will provide jobs for them and things like
those policies, all of that came with the monies. And they dropped the Ghana must go of money in the arena. Believe you me, that money was not shared. Students went for the money straight without due process. And within a twinkle of an eye,
the money was finished.
The money was finished.
Oh my God.
As in, it became survival.
Does it mean there was no leader of the group or something?
Do we really have leadership in Nigeria?
In the school system, that particular group you mentioned, yes. In the school system. You said students were there, right? Yes. And then the money was kept. Yes. And then they squandered the money like that. Was there no leadership in that student group? I sense you were one of the leaders in that group.
I wasn't. I was this type that kept to himself because my parents were academic staffs and I watched my ways.
But what happened to the leadership of that particular group?
The leadership, when the head is rotting, what happens to the rest of the body? The leaders, the supposed leaders, started it.
So when you talk about us changing the narrative, back to the story now, where you said we need to change the narrative, what exactly are you referring to?
When I say we should change the narrative, we shouldn't always put monies first. Because there are other ways this government would have empowered the youth than making proclamation of monies. Because at the mere mention of monies, you start having the wrong sets of persons coming to partake in the spoils. That is why, if you look at people from the outside world, you will see that they've gone so sophisticated technologically or otherwise without putting monies first. But the government knows once they mention money, all and sundry will be at their foot to partake in the spoils.
What if there's a strict measure on ground to make sure that it is shared evenly as suggested by the governor?
Have they ever put such measures on ground?
Most times there are measures on ground.
Do they work?
That's another big question.
They don't work. They don't work.
Doesn't mean we can't make them
like
work.
in my village, there was a time they wanted to bring their economic windfall monies, and they were having head counts. My house was literally swept off. The roof was swept off. Nobody came to my house to ask questions, but monies were shared around. So I'm speaking from experience. And this was 2012. How many years ago? And I'm not sure the narrative will still change. In as much as we've not changed our ways, the narrative will not still change. That is why I'm crying out to the average Nigerian youth. Let's try to copy and copyrightly from our foreign counterparts so that we can actually have a change in our political sphere, in our scenario, the way we live our lives, so that we can have the wherewithal to tap into the youth, into the future, where we as a youth can key into government policies rightly. You
know, we've been comparing a lot youth leadership and, you know, leadership of the people who have been there even before we were born, you know, and things like that, and that are still leaders now. And then you hear youth saying things like, oh, they told me I was going to be the leader of tomorrow, and this is my tomorrow, and the leaders of yesterday are still ruling. But you just mentioned youths, you know, not having the right mindset, according to your analysis, and you saying they should borrow from foreign countries and in terms of governance and the rest of them. So do you think that the youths are ready, should I say contaminated now, or should I say that the youths are already having the mindset of the leaders that they are complaining about? So now when you look at it, is it a problem of age? Is it because you're a youth that you do better? Or is it a problem of, is there a Nigerian factor that's affecting all the leaders, whether it depending on not looking at your age? Do you understand? Is it a problem of age now? Does it mean that if youths come in, they'll do better because they are youths?
This is not an age thing, you know. Now we should have a scenario where lots of workshops, symposia ought to be organized, you know, where you bring a whole lot of youths that are technocrats to come and discuss and chart a way forward on how government ought to be run, because to me, government is supposed to be transient. You know?
Okay.
When we say transient, it's supposed to be moving from one medium to another in a positive, strident way, so that from time to time, we say or tend to say, yes, we are beginning to get it right. That the Nigerian youth is beginning to have a change of mind.
All right. Yes, let us move to the next story now, okay. Even though time's longer on our side of that story. But this story is on bandits, and it's really not something to be excited about. It's a very sad one. In fact, I had to really take this story because there are so many parts of it.